Welcome to Tuesday, listeners.
A big sponsor shout out goes to Tatiana's School of Couture as she launches her online sewing workshops. Use the link on the Daily Series podcast to hop over to Tatiana's website and book in today.
Let's give the Australian editor of Sewcialists, Chloe Reid, a warm welcome. Hi, Chloe.
Hi, Maria. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's really good to catch up with you every week. How was last week on Instagram?
Actually, it was cool. It was actually pretty amazing. So as I said last week, I'm fine on Instagram. Like, I spend a lot of time on it looking mostly at other people's things. But whenever I come to man the Sewcialists account, I always feel like I don't know what to do in between posting about our posts. So I thought this week I'd watched one of our other editors, Kerry, when she was on there, she asked people for what questions they'd want answered and that kind of thing. And I thought, oh, that's a nice way of just kind of asking people things and finding stuff out. So I did a question of the day every day last week as a way of making myself go to Instagram, engage with people, find out some stuff. Actually ended up with a shopping list from it, so there's that. And yeah, it was great. It was lovely. People really engaged with the questions, and there was some good validation for you in there, which we'll talk about. But there was also a really great range of answers to some questions. It was really interesting.
So which question made you create a shopping list?
Favourite sewing tool.
Yes.
I was like, oh, what's everyone's favourite sewing tool? Thinking everyone's going to name stuff and I'm going to go, oh, yes, I like that. Oh, yes, I like that. But actually what happened was there were some that were like that. A lot of people saying that their favourite sewing tool, in air quotes, favourite, was the seam ripper. But then there were quite a few in there that I was like, ooh, I don't have one of those. I ended up with a little bit of a shopping list of maybe I need this, maybe I need that. Particularly, what are they called? Duck-billed scissors?
Yes.
Now, I know about them from embroidery, which I used to do a little bit, but not much. But the person who responded said they're really, really good for grading seams, you know, when you cut kind of one half of the seam in half. And I was like, oh, yes, they would be. So duck-billed scissors are on my list.
But they're not going to be on the Christmas list because you need them before Christmas. There's too many months in between.
That's right. And it's part of my duty to help the economy in these strange times is to do lots of online shopping. So I'm quite comfortable to buy them whenever I need them. So my favourite answer to that question, though, was still Netflix. I thought that was excellent. So then the other one that gave me a bit of a shopping list was my selfish question. So Tuesday was my daughter's 13th birthday. And so Tuesday's question was whether people had good sewing patterns for teenagers. And that was really, really useful, really good.
And that's added to your shopping list as well now?
It has. What was particularly good was I didn't know how many companies had like a dedicated teen or in-between kind of line. So I thought that lots of people would say these patterns go to small sizes but are women's, or these are kids patterns that go to like quite old, you know, go up to size 16, that kind of thing, and kids sizes. But actually there were quite a few companies that people mentioned where they said they do a teen version and an adult version. And I think that's, having started to sew for her a little bit more again, there was a gap between being a baby and sewing for a lot and then not sewing for a period. So having started to sew for her again recently, her shape is quite different to what a normal, in air quotes, woman's pattern is expecting, particularly the kind of ratio between waist and hips or bust and hips. It's just not quite the same because she's still somewhere between a child and an adult. And so teen patterns, I think, will be really useful for that because they will expect just a different frame, really.
Yeah, and she's still developing, so that makes perfect sense.
It does. So less adjustment if I buy from those patterns. So I think that's probably on the cards. And then the next question was the one that you gave me in this session last week. And you'll be pleased to know that almost everybody said, well, no, that's not true. Not almost everybody, but I'd say a good 2/3 to 3/4 unscientifically of people said, no, I just unpick the bit I need to fix. I do not unpick the whole seam. So you and I are validated in our complete laziness.
Oh, that's so good to know. But it's not laziness. You're only doing the bit that you need to do. Efficient.
That's what we're saying. It's more
efficient. Yeah.
To be fair, the people who said they do all of it, almost all of them said, because if it's in like a special fabric or like if it's required, I will go and do the whole thing because it will be better in the end, which is slightly different to I must unpick every seam fully because that's how I feel it has to be done.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it is. I thought you'd be happy to hear that.
Thank you to everyone who responded to your question.
In your favour. And then the other questions were good. They were just, do you sew for a season? Partly because the seasons have just started really to change here in Sydney, but I find it hard to sew for seasons here because they're not quite as distinct. You know, it's hot in summer, but winter's not really that cold by comparison to some places. And quite often in winter, it'll be in, you know, the low 20s Celsius here, which is almost summer for some people's sewing. So I was interested in the answers to that. Quite a lot of people sewing things with the intent of wearing them in winter, and then discovering that they've finished their woolen coat in the middle of summer or early summer. So that also made me feel better about the way that my seasonal sewing when I attempt it goes.
Oh, good. You're in good company.
That's right. Yes, it was great. And then the other two questions we asked about who would you like to sew an outfit for? And that was my kind of wild card question because I didn't really have any sense of whether people would go, I would like to sew an outfit for Anne Boleyn, or whether they would go, I want to sew for some, you know, like were they going to go historical / fictional characters, were they going to go famous people, or were they going to go people they know, like literally know? And most people went for the nice answer, which is me. I want to sew for me. That was great. I was very happy with that. And lots of people wanting to sew for family members who are far away, or, you know, that kind of thing. And then one fictional person, a couple of famous people, a couple of princesses got in there.
Really?
The Duchess of Cambridge and the Duchess I might have got that wrong. We're definitely in there. So, and I could see why people would see them as people you might want to sew for. Like I picked Michelle Obama for the same reason, right? Just great clothes.
And she wears stripes really well.
That's right, she does. Everything. She's not a princess though. She's clearly the queen of all she surveys for me, so that's good. And then the final one was about the TV show, your favourite sewing TV show. And sad to report that there wasn't very many answers that I hadn't already heard of or watched. I was kind of hoping somebody would say, what about this and this and this? And I'd be like, oh my God, look at all the stuff I have to watch. But interesting, lots and lots of people saying how hard it is to watch the Great British Sewing Bee outside of the UK, particularly in the States.
Yeah, I've always found that's been the case here.
Yeah, so somebody needs to fix that, because that literally half the answers were like, I really like the Sewing Bee, but I can't see it. So
yeah. And then you see all the tweets and you see people saying, oh, this is the person who was eliminated last night. You're going, oh, we're going to have to wait a while.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was good. It was just a great week. It was really nice to kind of chat with people and see what they were interested in and how they responded to the questions. So I felt much better about my Instagram stint this time than in previous.
Well done. And look, it was really fun to see that the sort of questions, that you put up, and then the type of answers and responses you got too. So it was really good to watch too and partake in.
Yes, good. So, yeah, that was last week. I'm not on Instagram this week, which is good because there's only so long you can sustain trying to answer all the things that people respond to and make sure you don't miss things. So it's nice to dip in and then come back out into normal programming.
So before you go on to this week, what we've got to look forward to, did you find that there was a certain time of day when you got a lot of answers or like a lot of responses, or it was just there was no sort of time?
It's a good question, actually. I don't think I paid enough attention to it to know, but I have a feeling I was posting things, trying to post the questions evening here.
Yes.
So, because I think that gets as many bits of the world as you can. Like when we've tried to do hookups for the Sewcialists, we've discovered that if it's evening here, it's morning in Canada, it's something, but it's a different day, I think. And it's usually morning or midday in the UK, you know, like
yes.
a bunch of places that you can capture. And so I did find out that if I post them later in the evening here, I wake up to quite a lot of comments. So people did it while I slept, which was quite nice.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Thanks for answering that question.
I'll pay more attention next time and let you know.
As you can hear, last week was a huge week on Instagram for the Sewcialists. Tomorrow, Chloe will update us on this week's blog post to come. Another big week for Sewcialist followers. Thank you for letting us into your sewing room today. See you tomorrow.